If you're into bikepacking, you've probably heard of Big Agnes, known for its ultra lightweight camping equipment. In this video, we're going to review one of their most popular tents, the Copper Spur UL3 Bikepacking tent. This is the start of a series that we're going to call Gear Review Wednesdays. Should we throw in like a really over-the-top logo here?
Yeah.
We bought this tent with our own money, so this is just our unbiased, honest review after having used it for the past 6 months. If you're new here, I'm Alex, and my wife Liz and I have been traveling and documenting our travels and adventures on this YouTube channel for about the past 6 years, including bikepacking over 6,500 miles across almost 20 countries, among many other adventures. We bought this tent at the start of the year and have taken it on a bikepacking trip in Oaxaca, Mexico, as well as our 1,500-mile bikepacking trip down the length of Great Britain. So as you can imagine, we've taken it through tons of different kinds of terrain and conditions, so we feel very prepared to give this an honest review. If you want to see more of our unbiased reviews, be sure you're subscribed and let us know in the comments what gear we should review. First, we're going to provide some basic information about the tent, then we're going to set it up and then tell you what we like and what we don't like about the tent. And then at the end, we'll tell you whether this is a recommendation and who we think this tent is for. And as always, in our gear review videos, we're going to include some links in the description box below. And if you use one of those links to purchase an item, it will really help support our channel, so we would really appreciate it. So before we get started setting up the tent, let's jump right in with some specs. It comes in 2 different packages that you can attach together using these straps here. These are the poles, and this is the tent and Rainfly. So you can separate them if you're in a group so you can distribute the weight better. The weight of the tent and the poles packed in their bags is 4 pounds, 4 ounces, which is about 1.9 kilograms. So for an ultralight tent, it is a bit on the heavy side, but it's also a 3-person tent and it's quite spacious. The tent retails at $630 and the footprint is an additional $100. So if you're gonna get all of this, and I do recommend that you get the footprint, you're gonna be in for about $730. Quite a heavy price point. So let's get started setting it up. Let's start out with the footprint. There's an end with these gray pieces and then with the orange pieces. The gray pieces, that wind. The gray pieces go where your heads are gonna be and the orange pieces go where your feet are gonna be. As you can see, the footprint has this nice hexagonal shape, which means that the tent kind of sits right here in the middle, and you'll have like these nice pieces, these nice wings out to the side where you can keep stuff that you don't want to put inside your tent. So we'll often use those to keep our panniers or just whatever other bikepacking gear we have with us. The setup process is pretty straightforward. You attach the gray with the gray and the orange with the orange. And the same goes for the poles. As you can see here, the poles come in a really nice compact container. This is much smaller than you would see for a normal tent. This is one of the main features that distinguishes it from a regular backpacking tent. See how small that is? It's basically 2 sets of poles, one main one, the main one is this big one. It makes a big X, so it'll sit here just like that. And then the small one just looks like that, and it does have a slight curve to that. So when we first bought it, I thought it was actually bent, but it's supposed to look like that. I do find that the poles are quite flexible, which is good, but it also makes it harder to set up with just one person. Once you get to this point, it's a lot easier. You just clip all the things onto the poles. All right, and now time for the small pole. We did this wrong the first couple of times. It goes over the main section of poles, not underneath. There, there, and there. And that just kind of helps lift it up and out. All right, so before I put the Rainfly on, I'm gonna show you a couple of features on the inside and the outside. So here, this little strap here is actually meant for your helmet. So they've got one on each side. So one there and one over there. Now let's hop inside. It's crazy hot here today, so I definitely will not be staying in here with the Rainfly on. This is my favorite feature. It has this really, really nice shelf that you can put a bunch of gear in. It also has this pocket up here, which I love, a pocket down here and a pocket down there. These pockets are really nice. We keep our gear, you know, like small things, headphones, phone, watch, keys, those types of things inside. Oh yeah, there is another section of pockets right here. And if you look closely, you'll see all the dead midges from our Scotland trip. One thing to watch out for with this is you do not want to overload this, because this will weigh this down, and because these poles are lightweight, they're not quite as sturdy, they will kind of cave in. So don't put too much weight in this shelf. And that's it for the inside. So this is what I was meaning. You'll have these kind of wings that sit outside of the tent, and you can put your gear here. They're safe from the rain because they sit underneath the Rainfly, but not inside the tent. So they're really nice. And now for the Rainfly. So the Rainfly just has these little buckles here that you clip into either the tent or the footprint. Sometimes you can use the wind to your advantage. I find that it does help to use all of the connections that it has available for you. So for example, underneath the Rainfly here, there's this little pocket thing that you connect to this center pole here, and you want to definitely get that in. It helps to keep everything centered and in the right place. Universal stake hammer. So now that it's set up, I want to talk about some of the ventilation options. One of the really nice features is this thing here, which pops up and it also closes if you ever want to close it, which we never do, even if it's cold, because this just helps a lot of that condensation that we breathe out, that helps that escape. We also really like this feature up top. It's got this webbing that we always can put our socks or small pieces of clothing underneath. It works really well to dry things out overnight. You can zip this up and zip up the middle one, and then you can roll this up. This allows a lot of ventilation, which is really good, especially if you're in a hot climate like Mexico. Even though this tent is freestanding, it is very important to stake it out to give it that extra durability. In all four corners, there's a place to stake it out. It does come with these orange stakes, but I found that although they are super lightweight, they are actually very, very fragile. And I bent this just by stepping on it with a flip-flop. You want to stake it out here as well, as best as you can. It helps to keep the condensation away from the tent, and the rain will just roll off onto the ground instead of soaking everything through. I believe in all four corners they also have these guy lines, especially when it's windy. You want to stake these out as well. The internal height is 43 inches, so both Liz and I can sit up fully without any issues. It's about 90 inches or 229 centimeters long, so kind of about the same length as a queen bed. And at the top it's 70 inches wide or 178 centimeters, which is a bit shorter than a queen size bed in width, and it tapers towards the bottom, so at the bottom it's 62 inches wide or 157 centimeters.
All right, guys, this is what we like and what we don't like about this tent. I've decided to join for this section to just give a female perspective as well. Number one thing I liked is I think just the storage design inside is so great. Out of all the tents we've never had a tent that has had this much thought and care taken into how things are going to be stored, like the actual utility of it. That like vestibule cupboard thing is really nice for putting some jackets and other items in there above your feet so that it doesn't get all damp on the ground, which can sometimes happen in tents. And then also all the storage on the side and on top is so great for little things during the night, your phone, chapstick, sound machine, the whole shebang. It's really nice. I love the design of it being on the handlebar. I'm the one who carried the tent for all the trips on my handlebars. It's relatively easy to put on the bike. I will say sometimes I did have Alex help me put it on because there's a little bit of, I guess, finagling, especially with all the stuff I keep on my handlebars, but overall it's pretty easy to use. I loved that it would just go on my handlebars, so I could distribute weight better on my bike.
Next thing that we really liked about this is the ventilation. Out of the 4 tents that we've owned, this has had really amazing ventilation. Tents can really trap heat, so having some extra ventilation options is really nice. Additionally, I really like the space underneath the Rainflies to put gear that you don't want to bring inside the tent.
Another thing we liked about this tent is that it is freestanding. We debated between the semi-freestanding and the freestanding tent, and it is nice having it freestanding because while it's good to stake it out whenever possible, we can get away with this tent if we need to camp in a bar, for example, like we had to do in Croatia on our bikepacking across Europe trip. That being said, we still use the stakes almost always.
Yeah.
Because it just helps with ventilation and keeping things dry.
So the last thing that I really liked about it was the amount of space that it has. It is a 3-person tent. It does come in a 2-person and a 1-person, but I like the 3-person size because I'm a little bit larger. I'm about 6 feet tall, and we both have fairly broad shoulders. So I think given that, and with our sleeping mats, it's a good size for 2 people.
And we keep all our camera equipment inside the tent at night. So all our GoPros, all our SD cards, our drone, our nice camera, all of that's kept inside our tent at all times. So having that extra space is nice for us. But I know that's obviously very circumstance. Not everyone's going to have a YouTube channel, but for us, that's really nice.
I definitely wouldn't use this tent for 3 people, even though it is a 3-person tent. They show the diagram as being head up here, head down here, head up here for how you sleep with 3 people in the tent. And I think that might just feel a little bit too crowded.
Yeah, maybe a child.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe
one of our nephews could maybe join us.
We'll bring one of them along. All right, now on to what we don't like about the tent. All right, the number 1 and 2 concerns we have are about the durability of the tent. So as you know, we've only had this tent for about 6 months, and we already have a few holes at the bottom that we think came from Oaxaca. And as I mentioned earlier, I recommend that you get the footprint because I think the little thorns that they have in that part of Mexico poked through both the footprint and the bottom of the tent itself. The material, because it's lightweight, it's super thin and very sensitive to punctures.
So that was unfortunate, having a brand new tent on the first trip, getting holes in it. I know it's extra prickly in Mexico and especially Oaxaca, but I think the durability could just be a little higher. I think with some of these lightweight materials, they just go almost too light sometimes, and then it's just more prone to punctures. Speaking of durability, I think, and lightweight material, I think they skimped a little bit on the poles, and that when there was a crazy big windstorm in England, our tent walls were literally caving in on us.
Yeah.
It was so bad. The tent was just moving like crazy, which I guess having some bend is good, because if you saw our Bikepacking Across Europe series in Switzerland in a major unpredicted storm, our tent literally snapped.
It's broken, honey. Look, it's snapped.
It snapped. So maybe having some of that bend actually helps prevent snappage, but it definitely made it uncomfortable to sleep in because the walls are caving in on you.
Big Agnes does have a lifetime warranty, so if something does break, I think they will fix it for you or send you a pole. That happened with our last tent, and I did manage to get a couple of poles replaced. It's a bit concerning considering it's the only tent that we've had that's done that. Our REI Half Dome tent we've had for over 10 years, and it is held up in some insane weather without caving in at all in the wind.
Yeah, so that is definitely a concern and something we're going to be mindful of. And I think if we bring this on future trips, we're going to just try not to camp when there's high winds. Sometimes you can't predict this, but it does make it very unpleasant camping in high winds with this tent.
So the next con for this tent is that when you do have heavy wind, in addition to the possibility of the side caving in, it can also push the Rainfly up against the side of the tent, causing the condensation or rain to come through a little bit. I think that only happened once during this trip in that crazy windstorm, and then your stuff does get a little bit wet. I don't think that's something that would happen a lot, but it would happen in heavy rain and wind.
Yeah, I think maybe twice it happened during the trip where our sleeping bag would be slightly damp in the morning after heavy winds and rain.
Yeah. And now the last thing on the list, I did mention this before, is that the stakes that it comes with are very expensive, but they're also super lightweight once again, and not very durable. I've bent two or three of them already, putting very little pressure on them. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. I've already had to buy additional stakes to compensate for the bent ones that I have.
All right, and that brings us, guys, to our last section. Would we recommend this, and who would we recommend this for? So
let's give it a rating.
Yeah, so what we thought the best way to do this is just to give this tent an overall out of 10 rating, which I think we're going to do for most of our gear reviews. So we've given this a 7.5 out of 10, which is a pretty good rating.
Yeah.
Overall, we really did enjoy this tent. The usability is great, but as we mentioned, we do have some concerns about the durability and the weather proofing of this. That being said, the reason we still rated it high, out of all the tents we've owned, we're still most likely to bring this on our bikepacking trips, because I do like how it fits on the handlebars really nicely. I like just the space usage so much that it makes just, you know, living in a tent for a month plus like we often are on our trips much more manageable.
And also, some of the major cons with this tent are just part of owning an ultra lightweight tent. They are less durable. That's how they're lighter weight.
That being said, I think that the fact that it does have some bend, as annoying as that was in the wind, I do think it helped protect us from getting our tent broken, which is like the worst case scenario that can happen, like we had in Switzerland where it just snaps in half. There's kind of a pro and con when it comes to that bend that became annoying in the wind, but also probably helped protect it from snapping. Overall, I think we are going to bring this on future trips, future bikepacking trips.
But we'll definitely want to watch the weather, and if there is going to be a storm, we're going to avoid camping that day.
Maybe we'll try some more bikepacking tents and get an idea of what we like best, but so far I think out of all the tents we have, we would bring this one on our trip.
I think so, yeah.
Who we think this tent is for, I think this specific size is great for couples. If maybe a couple with a small child, this could be a great size for that. I don't think this is the best like ultra lightweight. If you're like wanting to do like the Tour Divide racing, I don't think this is going to be that tent for you, because it's definitely not as ultra lightweight as a lot of the like semi freestanding versions are. But if you're kind of a what do you call it?
If you're a bit more of a bougie bikepacker like we are, and you like your comfort and space.
Yeah, but you also don't want to be too weighed down.
Yeah.
I feel like this is probably a good moderate option for people.
Yeah. 4 pounds, 4 ounces for a 3-person tent is really not too bad.
And I think this is also a great tent, not just for bikepackers, like for kayakers, for example. Like we've done some multi-day kayaking trips. We would totally bring this tent for that, to fit in those little storage cubbies and stuff. So I think it's great just having that bikepacking size, just to be for a little bit more flexibility with trips. I mean, we'd probably bring this backpacking too, I imagine.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Could probably just fit it inside of the backpack.
Yeah, so it's a different style than the usual backpacking styles we go for, but so far we are a fan of the bikepacking style. All right, guys, that is it for this video. Let us know if you have any questions about this tent, or if you have a tent that you love and think is the ultimate bikepacking tent. Let us all know in the comments so we can learn from you. And if you haven't seen some of our adventures, go check out our channel and make sure you're subscribed and give this video a like, because it helps support our channel. And we'll have those tents linked down below if you want to price compare. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much.